Tennessee had 3 All-Americans this year, 3 players recognized by a variety of All-American services. Cooper Mays was first team on Sports Illustrated and USA Today. And then Dylan Sampson and Jermod McCoy earned first team on a variety of other different services. Congratulations to all 3 of them. Well-deserved, but I'm going to go nuclear on the AP because if Tennessee wasn't getting screwed in awards before, and they consistently do get screwed in awards, what just happened to them here was flat out embarrassing. They got absolutely screwed on awards with the AP All-American team. And we're going to start first with the one that they got right, that I don't think was a screw job, which was Jermod McCoy being second team AP All-American. Congratulations to Jermod McCoy. However, after being first team on Sports Illustrated and USA Today, AP left Cooper Mays completely off their list of All-American centers. That's right. They left Cooper Mays completely off the list. This is insane, guys. This is absolutely ridiculous. Cooper Mays has been one of the best centers in college football this year. He paved the way for the best rushing attack in the SEC, bar none, and he was left off in favor of Florida center Jake Slaughter, who made first team, Ohio State center Seth McLaughlin, who's not even playing on this Saturday's game because he got banged up with 2 weeks left in the season, and Ohio State blew out Indiana without him. And then the third team, Jacob Gardner at Colorado State. Colorado State, a group of 5 school. Are you kidding me? This is absolutely insane. How in the world could you look at Cooper Mays' tenure at Tennessee over the past 5 years and see every other service name him a first-team All-American? That's right, a first-team All-American, but then you be the AP and you leave him completely off the list of All-Americans. That's absolutely ridiculous. Cooper Mays is one of the best prospects in the NFL among centers this year because he understands leverage, he's a smart player, and he's much more physically gifted than he gets credit for. The idea that you would leave Cooper Mays off the list in favor of not just other players across the country, but another SEC center, when Tennessee had the best rushing offense in the SEC all year. Cooper Mays has been superb. He has been the most reliable offensive lineman in the SEC for the last 3 years. And you somehow put Jake Slaughter in at first team over Cooper Mays? That's flat out insane. By the way, SEC voters didn't even agree with this. The league's head coaches named Cooper Mays the first team All-SEC center over Jake Slaughter. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah, over Jake Slaughter. Even crazier. Wait, not done. The Cooper Mays was at least second team by AP All-SEC. Again, they made Jake Slaughter first team, which is absolutely ridiculous, absolutely insane. I can't get over how much hate the AP is showing for Tennessee with that decision. That's absolutely ridiculous. Cooper Mays should be first team All-American. How the heck is he left off the list? That's ridiculous. But then I'm going to go even a little further. I'm going to go a little further and talk about how lazy these AP voters were because this was flat out embarrassing. Dylan Sampson, again, the leading rusher in the SEC, the leading scorer in the SEC, the all-time touchdowns scorer, rushing touchdowns leader, and rushing yards leader and scoring leader in a single season for Tennessee. The greatest season in history for a Tennessee football running back, one of the greatest ever for an SEC running back, was a third-team All-American. Now, who was first team? Ashton Jeanty at Boise State. Fine. He had a historic year. I get it was a lower level, but the stats don't lie. And I mean, even if they do, you can't ignore the stats. First team All-American for Ashton Jeanty. Fair enough. Behind Ashton Jeanty, though, the other first team All-American, and this is why it's so egregious. 2 running backs make each All-American team, guys. And Cooper Mays, Dylan Sampson was still relegated to third team. The other All-American on this list, I kid you not, was Cam Scatabo of Arizona State, who averaged 0.2 yards more per carry, only 0.2 yards more per carry than Sampson, and had 1 less touchdown and played Big 12 competition instead of SEC competition. By every metric, played an easier schedule. Hence the reason Arizona State is so much lower in the college football playoff than Tennessee, okay? Now they get the first round bye. That's only because of the auto bids that everybody thinks is ridiculous. How in the world do you have Dylan Sampson 2 All-American teams below Scatabo? That's absolutely ridiculous. It gets worse. Second team All-Americans were Omarion Hampton of North Carolina and Caleb Johnson of Iowa. You know what? I got even no problem with Caleb Johnson being ahead of Sampson. If you wanted Ashton Ginty and Caleb Johnson to be the two first teamers, that's fine. Caleb Johnson got screwed too being behind Scatterbo. Dylan Sampson got totally screwed being behind Omarion Hampton, though. Hampton is averaging just 0.1 yards more per carry and has 7 fewer touchdowns while playing in the ACC. How in the world? And I mean, literally, how in the world could you look at that and say, oh, well, you'll know, just the numbers don't lie, and Omarion Hampton is better than Dylan Sampson? That is the laziest level of voting I've ever seen in my life. I want to know who these voters are. Seriously, and I want their credentials revoked. Now, guys, maybe I'm taking this too seriously, but I do believe, for those who don't know, college football was built on the backs of media voters who took their role seriously. The national championship was a media award for the first 1869 to 1997, 128 years of the sport's existence. Okay? It's a sacred job to be a voter of anything significant in college football. When I go to SEC Media Days, I take my all SEC picks and my SEC predictions in the preseason very, very seriously. I take them very seriously. Dave takes his Heisman vote very seriously. College football was built on that. To not take it seriously is flat out egregious and just evidence of laziness to sit there and have Jake Slaughter ahead of Cooper Mays and not even have Dylan Sampson, one of the top 2 All-American teams. This is just as bad as him not even being invited for the Doak Walker finalists. This is what they've been doing, guys. The voters have just been looking at the yards and like, yards, that's all that matters. Let's vote based on that and rushing yards. That's not how it should be done. This is absolutely ridiculous, guys. It's absolutely embarrassing, okay? And look, Cooper Mays should have been a first-team All-American, and he's left off the list totally. Dylan Sampson should have been, at minimum, a second-team All-American, and he's down at third team behind Omarion Hampton and Cam Scatterbo. That's absolutely insane. I'm not one of those that are like, oh, everybody hates Tennessee and everybody hates this, but where in the world do AP voters get off like putting Jake Slaughter ahead of Cooper Mays, which they did for the All-SEC teams too when they put Slaughter ahead of Mays, and now they're doing it for the All-American teams and leaving Cooper Mays totally off the list, and then when they leave Dylan Sampson down at third team. That's insane. That's embarrassing. It shouldn't be taken seriously, and I want these voters who did this, I want their credentials revoked. I mean, you can't be taken seriously if you think that Jake Slaughter has been better than Cooper Mays on the year. I'm just going to pull up Florida's stats real quick. Just going to have a little fun with that. Florida CFB stats, CFB reference. Let's just look at their rushing numbers, by the way. And by the way, Florida doesn't have the same issues at tackle that Tennessee's had this year, funny enough. But they're averaging 156 rushing yards a game, 156 rushing yards a game, 4.5 rushing yards per carry. Okay. 156 rushing yards a game, 4.5 rushing yards per carry. Tennessee, on the other hand, is averaging, and I'm just pulling it up now, and this is why I'm getting so angry, because it's insane that you could think Cooper Mays is not better than Jake Slaughter, and that you would have Jake Slaughter first team and Cooper Mays not even on the list. That's what I think is so frustrating about this. But I apologize, guys. The things I'm trying to load are taking a minute, a little bit slower than I thought. But while we're on this list, all I'm trying to say is the data is very clear. Cooper Mays is absolutely better than Jake Slaughter, and only AP voters think differently. I mean, literally only AP voters think differently. So let's go to Tennessee real quick, because I can pull that up now. So again, Florida's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Tennessee averaging 5.11 yards per carry. 4.5 to 5.11. And that's with Tennessee having major issues this year protecting the quarterback. Tennessee has allowed 26 sacks on the year. Florida, meanwhile, has allowed 19. So Florida's allowed more sacks. So Tennessee's allowed more sacks, which, by the way, is not reflective of the center, reflective of the tackles. So Jake Slaughter's had more help from the tackles than Cooper Mays has had this year. And remember, sacks in college count against your rushing numbers. And Tennessee is still averaging 0.6 more yards per carry than Florida. No way in the world Jake Slaughter should be first-team All-American while Cooper Mays doesn't even make the list. This is absolutely Totally messed up, guys. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can't seriously think that Jake Slaughter is better than Cooper Mays. And the idea that you would have Jake Slaughter first team All-American and Cooper Mays off the list is ridiculous. And yes, it's also ridiculous that Dylan Sampson is down at third team behind Amari and Hampton and Cam Scadabo, who were second team and first team respectively. This is embarrassing. And I can't even I try to make the case all the time that no, guys, you're delusional. They don't hate Tennessee. They may get things wrong, but it's not like some conspiracy. It looks lazy to do this, guys. It looks lazy to put Cooper Mays has better name recognition than Jake Slaughter. So even if you were lazy, though, you would still put Cooper Mays ahead of Jake Slaughter. I don't know where they're getting this. This is absolutely ridiculous. Cooper Mays should have been first team All-American. Dylan Sampson should have been at minimum second team. Jermod McCoy at second team is fine. But honestly, if anybody was overrated on this list, it was Jermod McCoy because he hasn't actually played too many elite quarterbacks this year. I think he and Ricky Gibson is the best cornerback tandem in Tennessee football history, at least since I've been watching. He's the best lockdown Tennessee cornerback I've seen since Dwayne Goodrich. But he hasn't been tested. There haven't been that many great SEC quarterbacks that have gone against Tennessee this year. So this is just absolutely insane. And the absolute hate for Cooper Mays has been ridiculous since he was recruited. I think this is a confirmation bias of people are still upset that they overlooked Cooper Mays coming out of high school. They've been overlooking him ever since and just refused to admit that they were wrong on him. The same way I felt like the NFL for the longest time refused to admit that they were wrong on their scouting of Jason Witten. So this is ridiculous. Total hate for Tennessee. Totally unfair. Cooper Mays should have been first team All-American. And my apologies to Cooper Mays that you were not first team All-American. That was totally ridiculous.